one of you like to read our next recipe?
Sure.
I can do that. We are next making granola. And our dry ingredients are 12 cups of rolled or quick cooking oats, 1 cup of whole grain flour, 1.5 cups of unsweetened coconut, 1.5 cups of chopped nuts such as walnuts, pecans, almonds, or a combination. And the wet ingredients are 1.5 cups of water, 1 to 1 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup oil, 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt.
You know, granola is a staple at Greg and my house. I always make a batch of granola. Probably every week, every couple weeks, I'm always making granola. So I'm excited to learn your recipe for granola. And you were telling me just while we had a little break about the origin of granola.
Yes.
I never knew that before.
Dr. John Harvey Kellogg created granola, and I think that's interesting because we talked about a little bit earlier about the blue zones and the people who lived the longest. One of those groups was the Seventh-day Adventists in America. Yes. And he was one of the pioneers of pushing the what we call the health message now. Mm-hmm. And he was in the Battle Creek Sanitarium. He was very popular amongst all of the rich and wealthy celebrities of the time would come to the Battle Creek Sanitarium.
The elite.
The elite. Presidents came to see him and different things because he was a very well-known doctor. And he was recommending a new vegetarian diet. And that was kind of unheard of in the day because, you know, what they would have for breakfast in those days was sausage and eggs and just piled on, you know, protein, really.
This would be the 1800s, late 1800s.
The late 1800s. Right. And so they hadn't heard, cereal had not been invented yet. And we can thank John Harvey Kellogg because he not only invented granola, but he invented cornflakes, and he also invented a lot of the other cereals. And of course, people after him have invented more and more cereals, and so.
Right. And it's amazing because you go to the grocery store, there's an entire aisle dedicated, you know, just to cereals. And you go down and you have all your cereal options. And it initially started way back with John Harvey Kellogg. So
that's right. And also the Post Company was also an Adventist company, well, run by an Adventist at the time.
Right, when it began, yeah.
When it first began. So it's all in the roots.
It's neat to look at history.
It is neat to look at history, and it's great to see, because that's how we got started living longer, I think, because we started looking at the vegetarian diet as an option for us. So today we're going to start with 12 cups of oats, and we are just going to add in our ingredients. In here, I like to add coconut. We have 1.5 cups of coconut.
Now, if I can interrupt, your oats there are quick oats.
These are quick oats. I sometimes use quick oats. I sometimes use whole oats. Sometimes I use a combination of the two. You just get a different look. The quick oats are going to make it kind of finer and whatever you like. Really.
Would they cook faster though? I mean, if you were using it, or you don't see
I don't think they really cook. When you're toasting, there's not as much as when you're boiling them. They don't cook as fast. So. And then I add a whole grain flour. This is whole wheat flour. If you want to do a gluten-free, you can always do a different flour, or you can leave the flour out. The only reason we put the flour in is because the flour makes it clumpy. It makes those big clumps, and if you like clumps in your granola, you want to add some kind of flour so that you can, you know, have those big chunks to eat on.
Right.
Spout flour works out really great, and oat flour actually works out really great too.
Right.
Well, that's nice, and you can get some gluten-free oats, and some of our celiac friends are able to eat the gluten-free oats, so you could check for that as well.
And then we add nuts. And I like to add almonds. These are slivered almonds. You can add any kind of nut, just whatever you like. There's walnuts. They're high in omega-3s. You've got pecans are very nice. Whatever you like. So I'm going to let you stir that up, Sarah, and I'm going to go ahead and mix together some wet ingredients here. This is what I like to do at home. I like to use my 4-cup measure, and I put my water in there, and I mix everything in there so I don't have to, you know, get a bowl dirty and mix up my wet ingredients together and get another dirty. So. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and add in my brown sugar. Whoop.
All right.
And I like to add my salt to my wet ingredients because it kind of spreads it out. I'm afraid if I put it into there, it may not get everywhere. You might get a clump of salt or something. So it's going to coat the oats.
That would not be very good.
And then I'm going to add my oil.
Yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and put in the vanilla.
Very nice.
And I've also used maple flavoring in this. Because that's very good. I'll do a little bit of both sometimes.
I like maple with walnuts or something. I like the maple and walnut flavor. That's good.
And so we'll just stir this up. And the main thing here we want to do is get the sugar dissolved so that it coats the oats. And then...
Now, like, I'm thinking, Sarah, for instance, your son is diabetic, right? So what would you substitute as far as the sugar, or would he be able
I tend to actually use normal sugars.
He would be okay with that then?
Yep, he would, absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just a matter of how much fiber they get with the sugar.
Oh,
too.
didn't know
If
that.
you put,
Okay.
not all completely, but to some extent, that if they're eating a high fiber foods, they can tolerate more sugar than they can because it just moves through the system a little
Stabilizes.
slower. It stabilizes things.
Okay.
The fiber stabilizes the blood
It
sugar.
gets absorbed slower then
Yep.
instead of just
And
a
you don't have the
rapid.
spike in the drop.
That's important.
And so
Okay.
oats are high in fiber,
Yes.
so that works out great.
Good. That's real good. Then we just add the wet to the dry there.
And if you want to get your kids involved, they really like mixing this and using their bare hands,
Oh.
even better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do that. So maybe I don't know what that says.
I mix it by hand a lot too. It's just easier to get mixed up. It's hard to stir that thing
Yes.
together. What do you think, Sarah?
Absolutely. We need to dig in.
Dig in.
Yeah,
We're
we did
good
wash
for
our
that.
hands.
And one thing that we like, as Stephanie was mentioning, one of the reasons why we put the whole grain flour in there is to get the chunks of granola. And that's one thing that you can do with your hands once you get this incorporated is you can squeeze little handfuls together and form those clumps so when you bake it, you have the little clumps of granola.
It would hold. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then, for instance, if someone didn't like clumps, you could either not add the flour or you could break it up with your
Break it up.
fingers, right? As you're mixing it, you could just use your fingers, get them in there, and break it up, and then you wouldn't have the clumps.
Right.
That would make a difference too.
And this is a plain granola. It's very simple. It's oats, coconut. This is one of those that you can, if your kids are picky, they like certain things in their granola. Some of them like raisins, some of them like dates, maybe some cranberries.
Yes.
Some dried apricots are good in there. You can put anything you want, or if you could leave the nuts out if you like, and just do nuts separately. This depends. My son doesn't like, if I make it with walnuts, he'll pick all the walnuts out. So that's why I usually make it with the almonds.
Yes.
But this is a simple
That's right.
one that's easy to make and everybody kind of likes because they can do their own thing with it.
That's right. You want me to hold? You want to dump it on?
Sure.
Is that what we're doing? Now, do you put it all in one pan or separate pans?
This is probably 2 pans worth, so
Pans?
let's,
Is that good? Or
That's
you
good. We don't
more?
want too thick of a layer, otherwise it won't get
Okay.
crunchy. And here I can just
Very
make
nice.
these little
Oh yeah.
clumps just like that.
Good.
Spread it out nice and evenly.
That is nice.
There are a couple different ways you can bake this. My favorite way actually is to do it overnight in a low temperature oven, probably around 175 to 200 degrees.
Okay.
And then for about 6 to 8 hours.
right, you just leave it in there. And you could also, if you don't like to do it overnight or you don't like to leave
Here's
your
the
oven
trash.
running, you can, put the oven at like 300 and just make sure you go stir it like every 15 minutes or so, and then it gets done a little quicker.
Yeah.
Probably about an hour.
Yeah, it'd be done a lot faster, yeah. And I like the overnight thing too because a lot of times at home, you're in a rush. So before I go to bed, I just pop it in the oven and turn it on low. And you wake up in the morning, smells really good,
does.
ready to eat. It gets those gastric juices going. So it's
Right.
a good thing, yeah. Now we have a garnish here.
This is what, if you want to grab that bowl right there,
This one.
that's our finished granola.
This one?
Yep, and we like to top our granola with fruit. So we have some strawberries. I'm going to use my
You
little
need a
knife
spoon.
here.
You okay?
Yeah, just do like that.
Nice.
Because it's important, I like to say strive for 5, but 8 is great. So it's 5 to 8 fruits and vegetables a day.
Ah, strive for 5, but 8 is great.
great.
It's good.
And so we put fruit on everything. You see, we put fruit with all of our breakfast meals at least. And then for lunch, we concentrate on getting our vegetables so we can get our 5 to 8. So then we'll just slice some bananas into that. Because strawberries and bananas just go really good together.
Very good. Oh, yeah, I love
they make
that.
a great
Especially if it's
granola.
in season. You know,
So-
strawberries fresh in the summertime, that's a good thing.
Well, there we go.
Now I
There.
get to try granola. We'll add a little bit of milk
on
the
that.
top.
And you can
we
give
go.
it a try and see what you think.
It's crunchy, so hopefully you don't hear all the crunch here.
It's crunchy granola. We like it crunchy.
I like the flavor. The coconut stands out to me the most, I think, is the coconut, but that's delicious. And the almonds, I can taste the almonds too.